Ladies and gentlemen, today's story is one that will leave you speechless. Imagine walking into a luxury hotel, only to be humiliated, disrespected, and even slapped in front of a crowd, just because of the color of your skin. But here's the twist. The man being humiliated wasn't just another guest. He was the billionaire owner of the entire hotel chain. What happened next shocked everyone who witnessed it. Stay with me until the end of this story, because what unfolds is one of the most powerful lessons in justice and karma you'll ever hear. And before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our powerful stories. Now, let's begin. It was a Saturday afternoon at the luxurious Regency Grand Hotel, one of the city's most prestigious establishments. The marble floors gleamed, the chandeliers sparkled, and the lobby was filled with wealthy guests, businessmen in suits, tourists with designer luggage, and families enjoying their vacations. In the middle of this scene walked a tall black man, dressed casually in a simple polo shirt and jeans. His name was David Cole. To most people in the lobby, he looked like any other traveler. But David wasn't just any guest. He was the billionaire owner of the entire hotel chain. David had built his empire from the ground up. Once homeless as a teenager, he worked odd jobs, studied relentlessly, and eventually started a real estate business that grew into one of the most powerful hospitality groups in the country. Yet despite his wealth, David often dressed simply and preferred to see his hotels the way everyday guests experienced them. On this day, David had come unannounced. He wanted to see how his staff treated people who didn't appear wealthy or important. What he was about to witness would not only shock him but also reveal the true character of the people running his business. As David walked toward the front desk, some of the guests in the lobby glanced at him with curiosity. A few gave polite nods, while others ignored him completely. But behind the reception desk stood Mr. Richard Dawson, the hotel's manager. Richard was in his mid-40s, with slicked-back hair, a sharp suit, and a permanent smirk on his face. He prided himself on running the hotel with strict standards, but beneath his polished exterior was arrogance, and a prejudice he thought he could hide. When Richard first laid eyes on David, his expression changed. He scanned David's plain clothing, his lack of luggage, and his relaxed manner. Instead of offering a welcoming smile, Richard's eyes narrowed. .9. "Can I help you?" Richard asked coldly, his tone dripping with suspicion. "Yes," David replied calmly. "I'd like to book a room." Richard raised an eyebrow. "Do you have a reservation?" "No," David said, "but I'd like to book one now." The lobby grew quiet. A few guests nearby turned their heads, sensing tension in the air. Richard leaned forward, lowering his voice but not his arrogance. "This is not the kind of hotel you can just walk into without planning ahead," he sneered. "We have standards here." David kept his composure. "I understand," he said. "But surely there must be a room available. I can pay right now." Richard chuckled. "Oh, I'm sure you think you can. But rooms here cost more than a month's salary for, well, someone like you." The words stung. Guests in the lobby shifted uncomfortably, whispering among themselves. A few shook their heads in disbelief at Richard's tone. But Richard wasn't finished. "You know what? I don't think this hotel is the right place for you," he continued loudly, making sure others could hear. "Why don't you try somewhere cheaper?" David remained calm, though inside he felt anger rising. "I'll ask you again, are there any rooms available?" Richard leaned back, smirked, and crossed his arms. "Even if there were, I wouldn't let you stay here. We don't cater to walk-ins who don't look like they belong." And then it happened. In front of everyone, Richard raised his hand and slapped David across the face. The sound echoed through the lobby. Gasps filled the room. A woman dropped her coffee cup in shock. Children clutched their parents' hands, not sure what was happening. David stood still, his jaw tightening, but he didn't retaliate. Instead, he simply looked Richard in the eye, his silence more powerful than any words he could have spoken in that moment. The lobby erupted with whispers. Did he just slap him? Oh my God, in public. This is unacceptable. A young couple pulled out their phones, recording the scene. Others shook their heads in disgust. A man in a business suit stepped forward. "Sir, that was uncalled for," he shouted at Richard. But Richard wasn't moved. "Mind your business," he snapped. "This hotel doesn't need to be overrun by people like him." David took a slow breath, steadying himself. He could have revealed his identity right there, but he wanted to see just how far Richard's arrogance would go. David adjusted his shirt and spoke softly. "You've made a serious mistake." Richard smirked. "The only mistake here is you thinking you could walk in here and demand service." At that moment, Angela, the front desk receptionist, rushed over. She had seen everything. Her eyes were wide with fear and disbelief. "Mr. Dawson, you can't do this," she whispered urgently. "You can't treat guests this way." "Stay out of this, Angela," Richard barked. "You're here to take orders, not give them." David turned to Angela and gave her a reassuring nod. "It's okay. He'll learn soon enough." The crowd in the lobby grew restless. Guests began demanding answers. "This is outrageous," one woman said. "I'm checking out immediately if this is how you treat people." Still, Richard held his ground, arrogance dripping from every word. "Let them leave. This is a five-star hotel, not a shelter. We don't need people like him dragging down our reputation." Finally, David decided it was time. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his sleek black wallet, and placed a platinum business card on the counter. Richard glanced at it, then froze. The card bore the logo of the Cole Luxury Group, the parent company that owned the entire chain of hotels, including the Regency Grand. "Read it," David said calmly. Richard picked up the card, his face draining of color as he read the name embossed in silver. David Cole, founder and CEO. The room went dead silent. Every eye in the lobby was fixed on Richard, whose arrogance melted into panic. His mouth opened, but no words came out. You're, he stammered. "Yes," David said firmly. "I own this hotel, and every other hotel in this chain. The very walls around you exist because of me. And yet you thought it was acceptable to humiliate me, to insult me, and even lay your hands on me, in front of my guests." Gasps filled the air. Phones captured every second of the unfolding drama. The story was no longer just a humiliation, it was a scandal in the making. Richard fell to his knees, his voice trembling. "Please, sir, I didn't know. I didn't realize who you were." David's voice was calm but firm. "That's the problem. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with dignity and respect. Every person who walks through these doors deserves kindness, no matter how they look, dress, or where they come from." The crowd erupted in applause. Guests who had been silent now cheered, shouting, "That's right," and "Well said." Angela, the receptionist, smiled through tears of relief. For the first time, she felt proud to work for the man standing before her. David turned to the security staff. "Escort this man out immediately. He is no longer an employee of this hotel, or any hotel in my company." Richard's face went pale. "No, please. I have a family. I need this job," he pleaded. David shook his head. You should have thought of that before you let arrogance and prejudice guide your actions. Two security guards stepped forward, taking Richard by the arms. The once proud manager was now a broken man, dragged out of the very hotel he thought he controlled. The guests erupted into applause once again, some even recording as Richard was escorted out. The humiliation he had inflicted on David was now returned tenfold. With Richard gone, David addressed the crowd. Let this be a lesson for everyone. Respect is not reserved for the wealthy, the powerful, or those who look the part. True hospitality means treating every guest with kindness, regardless of appearance. That is the foundation of this hotel and my company. The crowd nodded, many applauding once again. Several guests approached David to shake his hand, thanking him for standing up against injustice. Angela smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Cole. I was afraid to speak up, but you showed us all what real leadership looks like. David nodded. Never be afraid to do what's right. That's the standard I expect from every person in this company. And so, the arrogant manager who thought he could humiliate a man because of his appearance ended up humiliating himself in front of the world. What he didn't know was that the man he slapped was not just a guest. He was the billionaire owner of the hotel. This story is a powerful reminder that respect costs nothing, but arrogance can cost you everything. Thank you for watching. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss another story of justice, karma, and powerful lessons from real life. Because in the end, the truth